Welcome to TradeNBA.com. This is John's reports for the 24th, and here we come ending what everyone said would be a miserable October. Really did not work out with them, and they always say that almost every year. We usually have some good volatility, but it's not always to the negative side. So we've been in this P2 situation here. We've had red DOC holding up, and you can now see the turn here, and you're just a slight tick of steel rising above to where the market breaks out to, well, at least new range from 100%. This particular poised section, we've got gold rising. So we're looking for the potential for still higher, and just begun, well, we're midway through earnings and all that. It's been mixed, but in general, there's nothing overtly negative happening, so the market's fairly pleased, and the paralysis in Washington always helps that whenever there's turmoil there, unless it's something that's outside the norm. The inability to do anything means things continue as they are, which is always good for the market. NQ, like we said, we was leading the way. It had already begun its move and almost has a full buy configuration there. Orange maintaining its flatness within this broader thing means that maybe it's not going to be all that long, but we'll see, because it won't take much green crossing steel above. Rising red would really drive things to new levels. And of course, the Brexit turmoil continues, but nothing's going to happen, which from a market standpoint, at least for a euro, it's going to keep it at the slightly elevated. And this is pretty close to within range. So it's almost within the bottom side of where they would like to see it, somewhere between that 112 range, 115 that we've been talking about forever, despite everyone saying how undervalued the euro is. They're still not growing. In fact, they're facing potential recession and serious issues. Surprise draw in crudes, but we had our P2 marker there. Again, even if it does pop like we talked about, modest likelihood that it's going to continue very far because we don't have that steel reset. But a nice spike with positive shakeout now. And that leaves gold pretty much nowhere, but just trading sideways. And nothing in this indicates that other than maybe a slight push up. It's all those dips below the red line that mean that there's still plenty of selling that takes place within any of these pops. Now, from an intraday standpoint, it's a fairly clean day. We were coming off that dramatic weakness from before. Couldn't see a push that drove us down towards the 77 range, and that just generated new buys. But all these buys were coming in off of, well, no steel reset for the most part. When the second one came and we got back to that same 94, that's when we got the first reset going through, and that put the steel below red. And so it was like, okay, at this particular point, you can see we get the DOC spread that starts right there, but in rising gold, you know that what I always like it whenever we have rising gold, that we see the azure meet, and that's when the BKs came through. But they're coming through on full reset, and it was just a matter of waiting for a punch of steel. In this case, steel rose above, but you didn't have corresponding drive of orange down below. That happens a little bit later, and that drives to the new range. And of course, you're caught down between the 94 and the 3008. So it's just going to be a question of, okay, every time you come back to the 94, how does it look as far as a reset situation? And in this particular case, it was pretty clean right down at the bottom. You had to cross over here, and then boom, a couple bars later, orange dips below, and you start a new trek of red rising, and that took us all the way back up right to where the resistance, we actually popped above it briefly with the cyan under red. Always a buy situation there. Kind of broke loose just before that, but was still so far below, it just was a modest, and we're right back at the exact same spot, but pretty clean as far as the shakeout's been completely reset, and we're at a neutral red at this particular point, and so we could break either direction based on this. Right now it's looking a little bit more positive with the steel coming down in that, so maybe we see a little bit of a continuation rise above that. I think that range can be either way. We're either going to be, once we break past that 308, we have that 3015 range. But if it rejects again here, I think we're going to be looking at a nice swing right back down to the same 94. The question is whether there's any catalyst that will help drive it lower. Without that, it looks like we trade across here and potentially move higher. So that's the long and the short of it. Clean and simple. Everything's pretty straightforward from what we're seeing from our intraday readings, which is really nice. We like it when it's clean that way. Just keep at it. As always, though, if there's anything unique, I will certainly put it up. And if you have any questions, you can certainly put them on Skype chat. As always, trade well.